Well, one of the top quarterback targets in the 2027 class and a possible future five-star is set to announce his college decision. Mississippi State made the final cut, but do they really have a shot to land him? Stay tuned.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Jaron Spor, national college football writer at Athlon Sports. With me is Landon McBride. We have a football pack show for you today. Can Mississippi State land a future five-star quarterback? We'll break that down. Also, we're going to go through who, because pretty much the recruiting class is pretty much over. Not over, but the big visits are over with. And so we're going to break down who our favorite commits are up to this point on offense and defense. And then another player has announced his commitment date, and Mississippi State's in the final. So do they have a shot at that? We'll break that down a little later. I do want to preface before we get started, I am on my last day of my trip, and the hotel Wi-Fi at this one is not near as good as the other two. So we've been struggling to try to even get this started. So we'll see if it holds on. But yeah, all right. So let's get into it. But 2027 quarterback Jayce Johnson, who is a 4-star because they're not giving out 5 stars yet. I don't think they've given any out yet, but
I think so.
He's a high 4-star, number 2 overall quarterback, depending on where you look. On 3 has him as the number 2. On Rivals, he's the number 5 quarterback, but he's the number 29 overall prospect. So most likely he's going to be a 5-star when this process is going. But he's 6'3", 205 pounds. He's from Georgia. And he's announced his final 5 schools. And also announced his commitment date along with that. But Florida State, Tennessee, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Texas A&M are his final 5. And his decision date is August 3rd. So, Landon, what are your thoughts on that?
Regardless of who he picks in, a month and 2 weeks, 6 weeks from now, I will be shocked if that's where he ends up. I mean, it's a whole year away. I mean, you always want to get that commitment of that 5-star or the guy who's going to be a 5-star. But when it's this far out, I mean, honestly, this isn't that different than what was it, Baby Gronk announcing his offers of like having 100 schools. I mean, you have all these offers. Great. You're not going to be on campus for 2.5 years.
Right.
Maybe he's the most loyal person ever. Maybe he does stick to it. But 15 years of me following recruiting lets me know that he's probably not sticking with this school that he picks. So, I mean, it'd be awesome if he committed. You could see that 5-star, but it'd be so much worse if he commits and then a month before he starts opening it back up and goes on other visits and then goes somewhere else.
Yeah, and I'm just going to lay it out there. I don't think he's coming to Mississippi State. I don't think he's going to commit to there on August 3rd. I don't think when it's all said and done, he's coming to Mississippi State. Maybe Mississippi State has a big year. Blake Shapen has a big year, and maybe then he commits, later on down the road. I just don't see it happening. I was actually surprised Mississippi State was in their final. Like, I've read so many articles about who Mississippi State is really targeting in 2026 and 2027, which Johnson obviously is. I don't ever see his name come up. And the crazy thing is, I'm looking at his visit list. He's not shy about going on visits. He's been to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 visits. Georgia and Texas A&M are the only ones he's gone to twice. He's gone to Ole Miss once, Florida once, SMU once, and South Carolina once. He has never visited Mississippi State. And then I'm reading through an article that On3 put out after he announced his commitment. And usually in this article, they kind of talk about, get a quote from him about each team that he's listed. What is his thought on all the teams? He talked about Tennessee and he talked about Florida State. He did not talk about Mississippi State. He didn't even talk about some of the other ones on his list, like South Carolina and Texas A&M. And like I said, Texas A&M he's visited twice. Georgia he's visited twice, and Georgia's not in his final, which is weird. I mentioned all those schools that he visited, and he hasn't. A lot of them aren't in his final 5, so it's just one of the weirdest recruitments I've seen.
With how long he has before he actually has to sign, what are we saying the over under at on visits he goes on? like 19 and a
Well,
half.
the
Like,
crazy thing is none of them have been official visits yet. You know he's going to take those.
he is going to be he first recruit to ever visit all FBS schools. I think that's what he's going to go with.
And he just visited Florida State and Tennessee, which I think both were, neither one was actually listed on his visit list on On3, but he did just visit both those schools.
Yeah, I mean, he's very talented.
It was for a camp visit, so that's why it wasn't listed, just to be clear.
Yeah, I mean, he's talented. He's going everywhere. He's got all the offers. It'd be great if he came here, but with the early commitment date, I'm not putting much stock in it. It's kind of where I am. Like, it'll be cool if, when he does that, he pulls the Mississippi State hat out. But let's be real. What happens, 12 months after that, 14 months after that is really what matters. And if he's taking this many visits now, who knows how many visits he's going to be on by signing day. So, I mean, that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, and I'm reading through his comments that he made about Florida State and Tennessee. Going off the comments, he's going to Tennessee. I mean, he said, Tennessee is a priority for me and my family, and they are most definitely making me feel like a priority. I give them a call every week, and we talk. I feel like that is the most that stands out about the relationship with Tennessee. Then about Florida State, he just said, Florida State is close to home, which is a plus, but what really keeps me going back is the culture. I love that energy that everyone has there. That's it. So going off those two comments, Tennessee sounds like they're about to land a quarterback.
Yeah, we might have another Nico situation on our hands in a couple of years. But
and not only that, they have a top quarterback committed in the 2025 class, I believe. Or
yes.
2026 class. I mean, Faison Brandon, who's the number one overall player on 24/7 Sports, 5-star guy, number 2 player on Rivals. So he's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, top players in the country.
Mm-hmm.
He's committed in the 2026 class. So like they're loaded at quarterback.
Yeah, and that's something. The quarterback position is the one, especially with how easy it is to enter the transfer portal. Now, God, I've forgotten how to say that phrase, but taking back-to-back quarterbacks highly rated is such a risky proposition now, because you used to be able to just like, hey, take all of them. They're all going to stay here. Eventually they'll play. But now you could lose both of them if you don't play your hand right in a year, after they're both on campus at the same time. So I almost think you have to go like high-rated developmental guy. So you kind of mix and match the flow of who is going to be starting, competing for snaps. So, I mean, it's interesting with how things are going, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Jayce Johnson, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's weird. And the one thing that everyone has said about him, though, as a player, big arm.
Oh, he's a baller.
Ball vertically, which score from afar is the big thing that Jeff Lebby preaches at Mississippi State. So he'd fit in really nicely, but it's the same offense Tennessee runs. So it would fit in nicely at Tennessee. So we'll see what happens there. But if they don't go with Jayce Johnson, which, again, we're assuming August 3rd, it's not going to be a state hat that he puts on if he does the hat thing. The one name that I've always heard repeatedly is Malachi Ziegler. He's a 4-star. He's 3-star on On3, but he's a 4-star on the other sides. He's a top 100 player in the country. He's from Benton, Louisiana. He hasn't announced like a finalist list, but he was actually just camping. He's camped at SMU, and they're actually the favorite on On3's predictor at 35.6%. Ole Miss is next at 31.2%. I was talking to Landon about this. Ironically, Derek King, who was De'Eric King, is the recruiter for him at SMU. The former Houston Cougar star, then went to Miami. So that was a name flash in the past. But
old.
Yeah, right. And he did just visit Mississippi State it was a camp visit, so it doesn't actually go on his visit list. But he's visited Ole Miss 3 times, SMU 3 times, and Notre Dame twice.
Well, I mean, he's not quite on the Jayce Johnson visit plan, but
actually, he's more than that. Landon, I didn't click expand because he's got 3 Ole Miss, 3 SMU, 2 Notre Dame, 2 Texas, 1 Oklahoma State, 1 Arkansas, 1 LSU, 1 Alabama, 1 Michigan, 1 Oklahoma, 1 Ohio State. So
he's going everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with these guys visiting everybody, but I guess you're just seeing what's out there. You
got 17 visits.
Again, what we do it like 30? Like, what is he shooting for? Is he trying to visit 2?
Because first off, all those were unofficial visits, but they also took the limit off of official visits, which that's now let anyone go do whatever. So,
I mean, he'd be another very good player if he ends up coming here. But again, we're so far out. Even if like he's trending to one school or another, odds are that's not where he's sticking come signing day
right.
in 14, 15 months, whatever it is, if they haven't moved it by then.
And maybe
again,
by then they might stick just because the season's kind of gone. And you need that quarterback to commit early so you can start rattling off other recruits. And so, and I think that benefits Mississippi State that he's committing that farther out because now you get us a little bit of time to show any improvement on the second year.
Right. There's a chance that could be part of the selling point for him and for whatever school he does end up at. It's just hard to say what's going to happen, especially with how things are changing, both in the NIL. We don't know when transfer portal things are going to change. We don't know if signing day is going to change. We don't know what things are going to look like by the time these guys are actually having to put pen to paper. So, yeah, I mean, it's always great to be mentioned with these high recruits because that means, you know, if you're in that top 5, you're in the top 6, whatever it is, whatever they cut it down to, you're in the game. And it's always good to be in the game. That means you're close.
You have skin in the game.
And if you can stay close and you improve in a couple years, you win that game. So,
and even if you don't get the commitment, just other recruits seeing your hat on the table makes them think, okay, what did he see that I just didn't even look at, or I maybe didn't see when I visited, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And so then they look into Mississippi State a little longer. Again, even if you don't get the commitment, that getting a 5-star, a potential 5-star, to put you in your final 5, and you've only been there 1 year, and it was a 2-10 season, says a lot about Jeff Lebby, and that's going to get other offensive players, especially quarterbacks, to say, maybe that's where I go. And so we'll see what ends up happening. But all right, coming up next, Landon and I are going to break down who our favorite commits are up to this point. Like we said, the big visit weekend is now over. A lot of the commits are already in. You obviously will get a few here going forward, but overall, a lot of your classes in place. So we're going to break that down. That's coming up next. Well, ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings on or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. So one of the things that I noticed when you start tracking spending with Monarch, I spent way too much money on food delivery. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I'm sure that was something that I definitely needed to get corrected, and my fiance as well. And so something that we've cracked back on. Also, it helps that we're about to get married, and so we've been cracking back on a lot of unhealthy food items, which has helped with the, been cooking a lot. But that's one thing that I definitely noticed right off the bat. And one thing I've heard from other people is they didn't know all the subscriptions that they were subscribed to. So that will help you as well. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com. 50% off your first year. That's Monarch Money, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, favorite defensive recruit. Let's start with the defense.
Start with the defense. All right. Well, I knew who you were going with defense, who I'm also a big fan of him, but I didn't want to step on that because that's your boy. So I went hunting, and I went with Micah Nickerson as my favorite of the defensive guys. Edge player for Magnolia, 6'5", 215. I spent a lot of time watching his tape before this, and he is a stand-up rusher, and he is very fast. He has no quit. There's very little refinement to his game as far as pass rush moves, any kind of plan, but the man is athletic and relentless. And like his third thing on his huddle tape is him blocking on a kickoff return and absolutely destroying someone. So coaches love that. I also saw him line up as a blocking tight end on a couple plays. I mean, this guy just wants to hit people and tackle people, and he has the physical tools. So if you get him training, teach him a couple moves, that's a guy you want on the field. He's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, that's a good one. Obviously, mine is Jax Pope. I've talked about him a ton. The safety from Buford, Georgia, just committed this past weekend. It was maybe a month ago when we first brought up his name, where we were kind of talking about potential commitments later on. And I won't go into the tape again because I've done it several times. But I mean, this guy just, I'm looking at his deal, and he's a 3-star on 3 and 24/7. He's not ranked on ESPN or Rivals. He's the 1,493rd ranked player nationally, 132 ranked safety. And so everything tells you, why is this kid coming to Mississippi State? Why should you be excited about this kid? And I just love his game. I mean, I watched him play, and I just love his game. And I don't know if he'll be a star. I can't predict the future. We'll see what ends up happening. But another thing that I loved about him is it wasn't one of those BS recruitments. I mean, we see those all the time where guys just, lead teams on and tell the guys covering the team what they want to hear. So you hear from one side that, oh, he's leaning here, but then another side's like, whoa, based off what he told me, he's leaning here. He just was right off the bat. I mean, in his interview after committing, he said it was around the time that they offered him, he kind of knew. He said when Coach Barnes came to the school and talked to him, his dad came up to the school that day too. They talked for like 2 hours during school, and he liked everything he had to say that day, and he couldn't wait to visit them. We obviously know he ended up coming on a visit, then canceled his other visits, and then committed. Like, it was just such a chill recruitment. It wasn't one that you were really worried about.
Clean recruitment.
Right. And again, I don't know if he'll be this great player. I mean, if you look at his measurables, if you look at what he's ranked, history tells you he's not going to be. But there's just a lot that I like on his tape.
I do too. I like him a lot. He's the type of player I like. He's the kind of guy who what you're getting. He's going to put his nose in it. He's going to grind. He's going to fight. He's never going to give up. He's the guy that you want on your team.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, offensive side.
All right, and I was lazy with this one. I just went with the high. I mean, Zayon Cotton. I mean, you know me. I'm a sucker for a very large receiver. I mean, anytime there's a 6'5" receiver, I'm in on him. It doesn't really matter if they're good or not. But I watched him. His tape, it's hard to know what he's going to be at the next level, because when you're 6'5" with that kind of athleticism in high school, you're just getting thrown jump balls, fades, back shoulder things. I mean, and he was a red zone nightmare in high school. You just watch 2 minutes of his tape, and it's just him jumping over people. I would have liked to see him get on the move more to see what kind of speed he really has, but his offense just didn't really use him that way, and they didn't need to because he was so much bigger. He did line up in the slot, so I mean, he moving around the formation already in high school. Don't know if he's going to stick at wide receiver. I honestly would try to keep him there. I mean, I know we mentioned when he committed, it said wide receiver / tight end. Yeah. I'm trying to keep him wide receiver. I'm hoping he only puts on about 10, 15 pounds, and he's a 6'5", 230 receiver, because that's a guy who can make a difference.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The offensive side was so hard for me. So Zayon Cotton was one that I thought about. Obviously, Landon and I both love Brody McWhorter, but it's easy. I'm not. Yeah, it's too easy to pick a quarterback, and so we didn't want to go quarterback.
I wouldn't pick a lineman again.
I went with lineman just because there were so many good ones. There were so many ones I liked. Dylan Steen, I really liked, but I went with Charles Humphrey. The big 6'7", like 270 is what he's listed on 3, but I think he's over 300 pounds. But anyways, 6'7", just this massive human. And I also wanted to pick him just to also give this shout out to what Phil Lodeholt has done. And so I felt like it was almost disrespectful not to pick him. To pick at least an offensive lineman of some kind. But I always tell everyone, yes, he's a 3-star, but who offered him? Because that tells a lot of the story too. So Virginia Tech offered him and got an official visit. Oregon offered. Ole Miss offered. Even Cincinnati offered. I mean, these are some good schools. Memphis is one of the better group of 5 schools. They offered. And so he had a lot of really good offers. Oregon's a massive one, yeah. And so he had a lot of
third out linemen. So if they're on him.
They do, yeah. And so he's the one that I went with. I like Dylan Steen. Almost went there. I almost went with Toothman, Dalton Toothman, after he's
He's
the
a
most recent commit. But I ended up going with Humphrey. So overall, I think we have some good players coming in. A lot of potential. Obviously, have to pan out. But all right, coming up next, Javen Holmes sets his commitment date, and Mississippi State's in the final 3. But will he end up in Starkville? We'll talk about that coming up next.
Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch, and it's completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege to get 15% off today. That's rugiet.com/lockedoncollege and use promo code lockedoncollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so Javen Holmes, who is a 3-star player, he has said that he has, or he's at least announced his final 3, and that he'll be committing on the 4th of July. So could be some positive fireworks. yeah, maybe some positive fireworks. He's also a safety. He was committed to Louisiana. He announced in his deal that he was decommitting from Louisiana, and his final 3 was Mississippi State, Rice, and Houston. Mississippi State is the favorite according to On3. They're up to 89.9%. So it's looking really good for the Baton Rouge, Louisiana native. But just kind of what's your thoughts on him? Oh, real quick. So he's been offered obviously by Louisiana, Mississippi State, Tulane, Houston, Memphis, and Navy. So those were the 3. So ironically, Rice is not mentioned as an offer, but they are in his final 3. So
I mean, it's an interesting group. You don't really see that group of people. I mean, and I never want to characterize people's intelligence when I haven't met them, but when you're offered by Navy and Rice, when you're in that, I mean, you're clearly a very smart person when you are when those schools are in the mix for you. So he's a very intelligent person. He's very talented. I mean, 6'2", 200, that's good size for a safety. Probably expect him to get a little bit bigger. Heck, maybe a linebacker in 3 years. But, Mississippi State should be the favorite. Unless he's looking beyond college and, is not planning on football as his future, then, Rice or Navy are those places he would really go. But, I mean, if this is purely a football decision, I don't know how he isn't, going to Starkville.
Yeah, and he did an interview, and he said that they're looking at him in the Isaac Smith role. So, obviously, a hybrid linebacker, safety. And I think he would fit that role.
He'd be great.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, he has the size, like you said, to bulk up and be like a linebacker, but he also has the speed and the skill to play safety. So it would be a perfect fit for him. Again, I don't know how. Anytime you get any kind of commit, I don't want to act like it's not a big deal because he's a 3-star on 3 sides. He's ranked as the 1,053rd ranked player, 95 safety. So he's actually higher than Jax Pope. So, but he took one official visit. It was to Mississippi State. So things are all pointing towards Starkville.
Yeah, it is. And he'd be a good get because he has kind of that tweener role. You're like, man, why do we need another safety? We already have 3 committed. I mean, with how pass happy the league is now, you have to have, one tweener linebacker that's essentially a safety and 3 to 4 safeties who can play. So
Yeah.
you
got to
have
bulk up the defense
yes,
too.
you do. So I
And
think
he's a hybrid also, so it's not like, I understand it'll say safety, but he's not going to be just a safety. So
yeah, he might play a safety his first year on the field, but he'll get too big to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right. Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm Jaron. Check out my work on Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We try to post daily videos. Like I said, I've been traveling this week, so it's a little harder on the other platforms. We always post daily ones on YouTube. The other ones have been a little harder, but we hope to get back to that and back to better Wi-Fi starting tomorrow for tomorrow's podcast. So hopefully everything works out well. But until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.